welcome to Business Chronic, a segment that examines business policies within the continent and the global stage. I am Michael Divier. A recent study released by the Government Accountability Office in the U.S. reveals that expanding gap between rich and poor is not only widening the gulf in incomes and wealth in America, but that it's also helping the rich lead longer lives while cutting short the lives of those who are struggling. Almost three-quarters of rich Americans who were in their 50s and 60s in 1992 were still alive in 2014. Just over half of poor Americans in their 50s and 60s in 1992 made it to 2014. Now, over the past 40 years, the gap between rich and poor communities has increased dramatically, and American sociologist Robert Manduka believes a large measure of the change can be chalked up to rising income inequality. In view of this, the UK-based non-governmental organization Oxfam, as world and business leaders gather for the World Economic Forum in Davos, released a report highlighting that the gap between rich and poor is widening globally. The report, titled Time to Care, comes out amid anti-inequality protest movement taking place in many parts of the world. Oxfam India's Chief Executive Officer, Amita Behar, explained that the unequal distribution of income and wealth is problematic and contributes to exacerbating poverty across the globe. Let's take a listen.
I would say that the fundamentals went wrong. We have put the bullies in charge, and you're looking at billionaires deciding how the economic system should work. This is completely unacceptable. Instead of ending the billionaire boom, we have actually favored them and tilted policies in their favor. Look at the data. Our report is clearly telling us that last year the billionaires actually had more wealth than 4.6 billion people on this earth. And this needs to be juxtaposed with the fact that 50% of the global population still lives in poverty. So that's the level of extreme inequality we are looking at. But let's not make any mistakes. This is not happening by chance. This is happening because we have created a system which is favoring the billionaires. It is lining the pockets of those billionaires and at the expense of poor and ordinary citizens.
Behar went on to describe the income gap as completely unacceptable and stressed that Oxfam could use the World Economic Forum as an opportunity to promote the needed change. Let's take a listen to him again.
We need to go way beyond the lip service that we do. In fact, what we see at Davos is more of a festival of wealth, and we must ensure that we are bringing in the voices of the poorest of the poor, of the excluded and marginalized to the center stage of the World Economic Forum. As in, we need to recognize at this moment, across the world, there is a narrative of anger. People are coming onto the streets and they're essentially asking, do we need billionaires in this world? And that's the critical question that World Economic Forum should try and answer. The billionaires need to pay their taxes, but I think the real responsibility lies with the government. Government needs to ensure that everybody pays the right taxes.
Behar was speaking in Kenya during a visit to Oxfam's Nairobi office. A day earlier, Kenyans took to the streets of the capital to march for income inequality and climate justice. And now these are the 5 of the most shocking facts featured in the report. First, the richest 1% of the world have more than double the wealth of 6.9 billion people. The world's richest 22 men have more money than all the women in Africa. Women and girls put in 12.5 billion hours of unpaid work every day. Women's unpaid care work has a monetary value of $10.8 trillion a year. And taxing an extra 0.5% of the wealth of the richest 1% could help massively. Now, Harvard University professor Steven Pinker demonstrates that over the past 200 years, the rate of extreme poverty in the world has fallen from 90% to 10%. Most interestingly, almost half of this decline has been achieved in the last 35 years. In China alone, capitalist reform between 1981 and 2015 reduced the number of people living in extreme poverty from 878 million to less than 10 million. Now, the crucial question is, What is more important to these hundreds of millions of people that are no longer starving, or that the wealth of multi-millionaires and billionaires may have increased to an even greater degree than their own standard of living?